This is the just released soundtrack for the video game Ittle Dew 2. Ittle Dew 2 is not only an awesome Zelda clone game that's filled with tons of humor, challenging gameplay, bright and fun graphics, but also has one of the best soundtracks I've heard in some time. Today I'm going to deviate a little from the normal game reviews to show off this new soundtrack. The reason I'm so excited for this release is because something my viewers may not know about me is that not only do I own the arcade bar called Twincade in Griffith, Indiana, but also the last couple years I've been putting out vinyl records on my own record label called Gigantic Noise, and this album here is our newest release. In this video, I'm going to tell you a bit about this amazing soundtrack, where you can get it, and also I'll be joined by a couple special guests who will tell us about their favorite game soundtracks. So thanks for joining me as I celebrate the release of the Ittle Dew 2 OST, my first video game soundtrack released on my own record label called Gigantic Noise on today's side quest. Now I'm currently on my 11th release for the record label, but the reason this 11th release is so special is because it's the first album I'm putting out that is a video game soundtrack. And yeah, it's this amazing music, officially licensed from the guys at Ludosity for the game Ittle Dew 2. The music for the soundtrack was composed by Matthias Hakulinen. Sorry if I butchered the name, but I gotta say the music on this thing goes from whimsical to brilliant, to emotional, to intense, and more, and it all flows together into an awesome OST that fans of video game soundtracks are gonna love for sure. As well, there's tons to sink your teeth into with this release. It's a double vinyl, has 42 tracks at over an hour's worth of tunes, and also has this sweet art that opens up into this gorgeous gatefold cover insert. Anyway, I'm super excited to be releasing this on my record label called Gigantic Noise, and I'll have a link down below where you can pick this one up. So like I said, in order to celebrate the release, I asked a few guests to come on the channel and talk about some of their favorite video game soundtracks. My first guest is someone who certainly knows a lot about vinyl. In fact, not only does he have an awesome YouTube channel called Retro Game Players that's been around forever, he's also an amazing musician and puts out his own albums. One of them that I have right here called M. Leota, album titled HR Nightmare. It's an awesome album, and if you visit his channel, you'll immediately notice at his intro and some of his music-focused videos how brilliant of a musician he is. Yeah, so let's hear it from Marcus now and check out his favorite game soundtrack.
Hey there, I'm Marcus with the channel Retro Game Players, and Philip asked me to come on to talk about my favorite game soundtrack of all time, to celebrate his latest release, Ittle Dew 2, on his own label, Gigantic Noise Records. I think that's awesome, man. I can't wait to check out that soundtrack. But yeah, I'm an avid vinyl collector myself, have tons of video game albums, and by far, this is my #1 pick, at least when I need to do something and need some motivation to get it done. So I'm talking about Yuzo Koshiro's Streets of Rage 2. This was actually put out by Data Discs, who does a really good job as far as quality of their releases. I mean, this is an amazing record, and I'll tell you, this soundtrack goes perfectly with the gameplay. I mean, I think this came out in some, like, 92 is when I remember playing it. And the soundtrack just literally fits perfectly as you walk around the streets and just beating the crap out of people, smashing heads in. I mean, I love the game, but the soundtrack is so good. Level to level, song to song, it is absolutely brilliant. So Yuzo Koshiro, for my money, this is like probably his best work. I would say Revenge of Shinobi is right up there as well. But there you go, man. I hope you can check this out. If you guys haven't heard this, go listen to it right now. It's an amazing soundtrack. And also, I'm really excited for Streets of Rage 4. I just hope that they get Yuzo back. So thanks again, man. And you know what to do. You keep that shit retro later on.
Hey, thanks Marcus. Streets of Rage has some of the best music, and it's definitely a must-have for video game vinyl collectors. Now let me show you a couple samples from the Ittle Dew 2 soundtrack. Yeah, as you can hear from these quick song samples, if you pick up the Ittle Dew 2 soundtrack, you won't be disappointed. Now let's check in with another guest. This is another guy with a super rad YouTube channel. Not only does he do a very entertaining weekly pickup video every Monday that I never miss, you can also catch some bonus videos where he shreds on guitar and writes some of his own music and also does some game music covers. Let's check in with Ed from Ed's Retro Geek Out and see what his favorite video game soundtrack is.
Oh yeah, we were doing that today. Hi, my name is Ed from Ed's Retro Geek Out. Philip asked me to come on today and talk about my favorite soundtrack because he'll be releasing the Ittle Dew 2 soundtrack on his record label thing on vinyl. That's pretty cool. Anyways, my favorite gaming soundtrack isn't Rockman or Mega Man as it's known in the Americas, but one of my favorite ones is actually a pretty new game. It's called Shovel Knight. I love Shovel Knight. This game is a throwback to the NES days. The game is pretty difficult, however, if you play it a couple times, it gets quite easy after a while once you figure out how to play it. But the music in this game is amazing. Not just the melodies, but also the rhythms are so good on this game. My favorite track on the soundtrack has got to be In the Halls of the... How the hell are you supposed to pronounce? Usurper?
Usurper.
In the Halls of the Usurper. This game soundtrack was composed by Jake Kaufman, who also does stuff for Big Bad Bosses, the band that The Completionist is in, and Manami Matsume also composed a couple of parts in here. She did some stuff for Capcom before. So yeah, a really pretty cool dude, and the girl making this soundtrack. The reason I love the soundtrack so much is because it gets you pumped. This is an action platformer. The music gets you pumped, it gets you driven, it makes you want to go for it, it makes you want to go get that final boss fight and win each level. Hearing the soundtrack just makes me happy, and it is so well composed, all of these music tracks on here. Right now, that's definitely my favorite soundtrack. Thanks so much, Philip, for having me on, and be sure to check out Ed's Retro Geek Out. As I'm here on the channel, I might as well just plug myself, right? Hey? See you guys later. Bye.
Thanks, Ed. Love the guitar work there, and I totally agree. Shovel Knight is an awesome game and has a killer soundtrack. Definitely recommended. And finally, my last guest coming on to help me celebrate the release of the Ittle Dew 2 soundtrack is well known in the YouTube community with the awesome YouTube channel Rebel Gaming Club and a band of the same name. Yeah, it's Dan from the Rebel Gaming Club. Dan and his crew actually just released a new CD packed full of killer tunes, all focusing on the glory days of the Nintendo, appropriately titled the NES years. I've heard a bunch of the songs from their new album on their YouTube channel, and I've already ordered the CD and can't wait to check out the rest. I'll have a link in the description where you can get your own copy. Anyway, let's hear from Dan and all about his favorite video game soundtrack.
Hey guys, this is Dan from the Rebel Gaming Club, and my buddy Phil reached out to me and asked me to tell you guys about my favorite video game soundtrack. And this is to kind of celebrate his new release on his record label for the video game Ittle Dew 2. He's got it on vinyl, and he's sending me a copy. And I can't wait. It's in the mail right now. Guys, with soundtracks, it's a tricky one. I like video game soundtracks a lot, but do I listen to them in the real world? I don't. I don't. I have too much music that I listen to. But in a video game, yes, it's essential. I love a good soundtrack in a video game. And I think it makes or breaks a game. I mean, think about this. How many great games do you know of that have a really shitty soundtrack? Probably not too many. I don't even know if I can name one off the top of my head. And when I think about my favorite soundtrack for a video game, there's a lot to choose from. Right off the top of my head, I think of R-Type Final on the PS2. Talk about atmosphere. You know, you crank that up with a subwoofer on a stereo, and it moves the house. It feels good, especially when you're playing it and you're feeling it. And then you have classics like Battletoads. This is the only vinyl that I own for a video game soundtrack. And could this be my favorite soundtrack of all time for a video game? It probably could if I was able to get past that one part there that everyone gets stuck on, you know, when you got to make the stupid jumps. So I only know like 3 songs off this soundtrack. So no, Battletoads can't be my favorite soundtrack. Because my favorite soundtrack, I'm a basic bitch when it comes to this stuff. Super Mario Bros. 1985, greatest soundtrack for a video game of all time. It's only 6 tracks, right guys? It's 6. But those 6 are near perfect. So you have the main theme, which everyone knows. You have the underworld, which once again, you know. You get to the water world. Guys, you know it. You're hearing it in your head right now. You're floating in the water and it's gonna get that carnival kind of vibe. You're all peaceful even though you got stupid squids coming at you. You got everything coming at you. But it keeps you calm. You got the castle theme, which has that fast syncopated beats going on there, and it's you're the tension's there. You're really on edge, you know, and you see those, you're jumping shit. You got everything going on. Starman theme. You know, you get cocky, you get, you know, you invincible, you're buzzing through everything, but you're careless, because that music makes you careless. You're jumping into holes, you're killing yourself. Yeah, it's only 6 tracks, but Super Mario Bros. is to me, it's timeless. It's like a Charlie Brown special with the piano music. It's like Rankin and Bass at Christmas time. It's all that stuff. I mean, I grew up with this. You guys probably grew up with this. 1985. I was 7 years old. So this has been my whole life with that soundtrack. And when I hear it, it brings me right back. And it just makes me happy. I guess that's what it boils down to. I don't know if I have anything else to say about it. You know, I don't. Like I said, it's a basic choice. It's not that you know, exciting hidden gem that you guys might be looking for. But yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get from me. Your bud, your old bud Dan from the Rebel Gaming Club. So Phil, congrats on your new release on your label. This is very exciting that you're going to be releasing soundtracks. I can't wait to see what's coming down the line. And yeah. Thanks for having me. Back to you, sir.
Thanks, Dan. That's awesome. Can't wait to get your new album from the Rebel Gaming Club in the mail. I'll be checking for it in the mailbox nonstop until it arrives. Okay, so thanks to everyone who stopped by to help me celebrate this album release. I totally appreciate it, and you guys rock. And please be sure to order your copy of the Ittle Dew 2 soundtrack at the link below. I promise you won't be disappointed. It's a double album, chock full of stunning music. It's amazing, and it's shipping right now. So pick it up ASAP, and until next time, I'll catch you in my next video.